Call the meeting to order of the Eastham Finance Committee on Wednesday, July 8th. This meeting will be video recorded and can be seen on local channel 18 and on the town's website at www.eastham-ma.gov. This meeting is not in person. It is a Zoom meeting pursuant to the emergency order of Governor Baker due to the coronavirus pandemic. Okay, we'll start. The first order of business is the approval of minutes. I had sent the minutes around. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes? And I'll just go through the order. Steve C.
I have to abstain. I wasn't on the committee.
Right. George?
No comment.
Peter?
No comment.
No comment. All right. Tom?
No comment.
Russ, you weren't on the committee either at that time. Mary?
No comment.
And Rick?
No comment.
And Steve Z, I think you were absent, but I will ask you anyway.
No comment, but I'm still
No
working
comment.
through your 7 emails though.
Oh, yeah, well, although that's because I tried to send them all in one and it blew up my computer, so I had to do them single at a time. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
I make a motion that the minutes of the 10th meeting.
I'm not sure you can do it, Mary.
Oh,
I don't think you can do it, Mary. Yeah, well, no, you can't. You're not a member at the moment.
You can't, Jerry.
You can't. You're not a member. You can't do it. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, George, do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
Second is Rick. All right, so any further discussion? Anyone have any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. It has to be a roll call vote. And those who can vote, I'll ask, even though you'll abstain. Steve C.
I abstain.
George.
Yay.
Peter.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Steve Z.
Yes.
Yes, and Jerry votes yes. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0. Okay, for the minutes. Now, the next item on the agenda is this is the first meeting supposedly after the town meeting or whatever, but the first one in July, and we have to look at the organization of the committee, and we are required to elect a chairman and a clerk. By common practice, this committee has also elected a vice chair. So we'll start with chairman. Do I hear any nominations for a chair person?
I'll nominate Jerry Saraceno.
And Tom's second. Okay. Do we hear any other nominations? Hearing none, the nominations are closed, so we'll have a vote. In favor, yay or nay? Steve C.
Yay.
George.
Yay.
Peter.
Yay.
Tom.
Yay.
Rick.
Yay.
Steve Z.
Yay.
Okay, and I will abstain, so that is a 6-0-1. Okay, do I have any nominations for vice chair? You can't nominate the last one because he's gone. So, any vice chair nominations?
I'll nominate Steve Cole.
Steve Cole. Do I hear a second?
I second the nomination.
Okay.
This happened.
Yeah, will you, Mr. Cole, will you accept if elected? I'll give you a chance to bow out if you don't want to do it.
No, I guess I would.
Okay, do I hear any?
But you
Any
just
other
gotta stay
nominations?
healthy, Jerry.
Any other nominations? Okay, the nominations are closed, so this is for the election for vice chairman for Stephen Cole. We'll start with Steve Cole,
I abstain.
George,
Yay.
Peter, Tom,
Yay.
Rick,
Yay.
Steve Z,
Yay.
and Jerry's a yay, so that's 6-0 for that. Now we'll need a clerk that's required for us to, but Jackie has made the clerk's job so easy since we have,
Poor
Karen does our minutes, so we're pretty good, but the charter says we need a clerk, so we need, I need a nomination for someone for clerk. Mary has been the clerk, and
Oh,
I
thank you.
don't think, now if you want, if we can do it, we can put this off maybe to the next meeting to, on that election. I don't think we're in any problem if Mary wants to do it again, unless there's someone who is just panting to be the clerk, we can get any other nomination. If not, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's panting for it, we need to take a good look at that. But I think it's a good idea that you suggested, assuming Mary is willing to accept it, that we put it off until she gets sworn in.
Yeah, is that okay, Mary?
Fine, that's fine. Thank you for your comments.
All right, so that's what we'll do. So we will take up in the August meeting, the election for clerk. Now, the next item on the agenda was committee assignments. And those were basically to the capital projects committee. And for example, Tom is on
Rock Harbor.
Rock Harbor. Mary had been at strategic planning, but had said that she wanted to, because of other commitments, to not be on strategic planning. I'm trying to think what other ones. We have someone in water. Fred was the our liaison or designee on the water project. So we need to have someone do that. So let's, I don't know of any other. Jack, let me change. Jackie, do you know of any other
I'm not with-
commitments that we have?
Yeah, you have police and you have wastewater. We have, right now, we have
thought-
water, police, Rock Harbor, and wastewater.
Oh, I thought the police was over. It's not? That one's not,
It's
okay.
not over until
So-
it's done, Jerry.
Okay, all right. So we need, it ain't over till it's over.
Right.
Jerry, Peter here.
Yes, Peter.
I've been the rep to wastewater. And
You're the rep on wastewater, and you okay continuing on that?
Yes,
Okay, so we don't have to do those two. That's good. We clearly need someone to be on water, because Fred was there. Steve Cole, you raise
I'm
your hand?
happy to do it I'm happy to do it since Fred was doing it. And I was very
Yeah.
much involved in the water issue back in the day.
Yes, I was aware of that, even though I was living in Virginia at the time. So are you willing to, I don't think we have to vote on this, we just do it. Are you willing to be the rep on water? Steve?
Yes, I am. I just have one question. Is
Yeah.
there a regularly scheduled time they meet, or is that done on an ad hoc basis?
Jackie would know better.
It's been more ad hoc. Certainly, we haven't had regular meetings since
Okay.
January, but it's usually a Monday morning. And I can't remember, Tom, do you remember which Monday morning it is? It's like the first or the third or,
Well, Jackie, if it's Monday, then I'm good. I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure I didn't have a conflict, but that's fine.
All right, that's great.
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay, unless there's an objection that I hear, we'll have Steve C. And I have to do C and Z, they're close, but Steve C to be the our water. So that leaves wastewater, which is, I don't know,
Peter said
Jackie?
Peter's
Oh, no,
already on
excuse
wastewater.
Peter's on, what's the, police, my error.
Can I-
police.
Jerry,
Yes,
this might make it easier for you. I'm not sure, though. So the select board met and they have appointed Art Arterino as their representative to the CPC police, who was your former representative. So considering we probably have 1 to 2 months left on the police contract, you might want to hold off and let Art carry the water for both committees. It would be, it would be an odd thing, but I think in this case, it would work.
I'm fine with that. Otherwise, I mean, since it's only got a couple of more months, I could jump in and do that also. But
Yeah.
If there's a problem, I'll jump in and do it. But we'll leave Art. I trust him enough.
They should
to do
should
it.
be done substantially complete by, the third week in July, so coming up in a couple of
Okay.
weeks. And then, after that, there's usually some cleanup stuff, but it shouldn't be too
Okay,
long.
that's fine. Unless does anyone have any objection to that? Okay.
Fine.
Silvio had popped something up, Steve, that the water, they were meeting on the third Monday of the month.
Thank you.
Is when the schedule was set. So just for your information, Steve.
Thank you, Silvio.
Okay. The next item on the agenda was looking at quarterly.
Excuse me, Art, who's taking the strategic planning?
Oh, boy, I forgot that strategic planning. I'm in bad shape today. Too much beach, too much sun. Okay, is anyone interested in sitting on strategic planning? And I think Mary can give us a little more information on what that would entail. Would you do that for me, Mary? Just what you see in the future? I know it may be a little less than it has been.
It was very heavy for the last couple years, but we put together our plan and presented it to the Board of Select Board this past spring. And I think Jackie is interested in having the strategic planning committee continue to be supplement to reviewing financial aspects of the town. Jackie might want to chime in here too.
Yeah, I think what we want now is for the strategic planning committee to move into implementation. So we want some board, and we're assuming that the strategic planning committee is the board, to kind of hold our feet to the fire and make sure we are achieving those goals that we work so hard to create as a community. So it's an ongoing sort of, what have we achieved in this quarter? How are we going to get there? That sort of thing with staff.
All right, is there anyone who is interested in sitting on that committee as a representative of the Finance Committee? All
It's
right.
really fun. It's a fun committee.
Jerry, it's Steve Z. I'll take it. I might need to have help from Mary to get my training wheels off. I
Jerry
scared him away.
disappeared from my screen.
Yeah, we lost Jerry.
Oh, God.
Wait a second now. That's not right.
That was quick.
I'm not gonna tear this.
I'm back on. I have no idea what happened. Let me, can you guys see me?
Yes.
Video's on? Okay, we're good. All right. I can't,
Steve got really nervous, Jerry.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just went dead on me. I have the foggiest idea what happened. That's all right, Steve,
Jackie, it's way too soon for a coup d'etat.
I know, I
Yeah,
was going to
it's too-
say, woo, he's
I know,
rising
well-
very quickly, rising very quickly.
Whatever coup you want, just make sure it's bloodless. That's all I ask. Okay, we're back. The next item was looking at the quarterly financials, but excuse me, I made the mistake. Rich had told me that there is an item that gone through the final the end, which is why Silvio is on here. So I think we should take up that one item that we have to vote on. And I leave it to Jackie, Rich, or Silvio to raise it. Rich?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. I just want to show you real quick, it's not a lot to go on because it's very preliminary, but this was sent out in your email to Jerry, which I think got sent out to everybody, is the budget report on our appropriations through June, but it's very preliminary. It's showing an available budget of almost $2.5 million, but we still have to process our year-end warrant that we have to the 15th of July to finalize our warrants for the fiscal year. And we have to do some year-end encumbrances. And so when we do those things, we're anticipating that much of that will be gone, but we'll still have a budgetary savings of maybe in the ballpark of $500,000. But in going through that process, and just so you have a little sense, that's the last page, the summary. And we have each department and where those savings are being generated. And when we are able to finalize this in the next couple of weeks, I can resend this out and we can have usually what I do is I summarize it in a nice, easy fashion to have a discussion as to how it impacts our free cash. So that's a little bit down the road. But this is just a look of what our accounting system is showing on the status of our appropriations. But as I do that and I sit with the town accountant, we do anticipate what the final payroll and final charges are going to be. And we had a couple of line items where we came up a little bit short, and that's why I asked Silvio to be here. And he can explain it and answer any questions you may have, but our approach is we're short about $2,000 in between two DPW salary line items. And so we think that's the extent of any shortfalls we might have. And the path, we've been in front of you before for a year-end transfer. That process under the general laws requires the Finance Committee and the Selectmen to vote on a transfer, and that's where you're taking savings from one line item and using it to cover shortages in other line items. In this case, since we're running up against the statutory clock of July 15th, which is the last date to affect any transfers effective to the prior fiscal year, we don't think we have enough time to get both of those votes to do a transfer. So we're asking for a reserve fund transfer, which just requires a vote of the Finance Committee. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Silvio and I'll put on screen here. It just dawned on me, I might not have been properly sharing the prior document, but I have the request from Silvio that I can put on screen here. Let me see if I can find that.
Are we talking about $2,000?
Yes.
It would take a really difficult presentation by Silvio to have us.
Right, to have us say no to.
And he's too good to have that happen, so I hate to,
Well,
Yeah.
I can't, Silvio, I can't find the
I know,
legend.
$500,000 in
That's
savings.
okay. I can
But
actually,
I'll come through it.
I don't know if I can share my screen.
That's all right. You can just say it, Sylvia. You're on screen, but go ahead. Just
Yeah,
tell us
that's
what.
So basically, thank you again for the opportunity, Silvio Gennaro, DPW Superintendent. Obviously, a variety of things happened, and we ended up going about $1,000 over on our salaries at the DPW, about $996. So about $1,000 on each the collections or transfer station budget. And this was obviously due to a variety of things. We had a lot of after-hour calls that we weren't expected. We had obviously preparations that we had to do due to the COVID pandemic. But the biggest thing was about a year ago, we actually had the tornado event that, ravaged some of Harwich and Dennis. And we ended up providing the town of Dennis with mutual aid assistance at that point in time. So exactly at the beginning of the year, there was a lot of money that we spent out of our own budget, trying to, again, providing mutual aid assistance to the town of Dennis, which we hope in the future, knock on wood, that we don't need it. But if we ever need to, get mutual aid from other towns, that they would respond like we did. So throughout the year, we implemented a variety of measures, basically meaning that we asked our staff whenever they needed to work after hours or during the weekends or something like that to take comp time instead of overtime. But, you know, again, due to a variety of things that happened throughout the year, we weren't able to eliminate that and eventually had a little bit of a shortfall on both of those budgets. So that's basically the main reason why that happened. And we would ask for your support in getting this reserve fund transfer to, you know, address this shortfall.
Right. Let me ask just one question of Jackie or Rich. Since this is coming out of the reserve fund, historically, it required us to sign that. How do we, just taking a look at the logistics, how do we do it? Or is a vote tonight good enough?
I think a vote's sufficient.
A vote sufficient? That's fine. Okay.
I move we approve the requested transfer.
Do I
Second.
hear a second? Second from Tom. Moved by Rick, second from Tom. Any further discussion from anyone? Okay, we'll go through on a vote, starting out with Steve C.
Yay.
George.
Yay.
Peter.
Yay.
Tom.
Yay.
Can't be Russ or Mary. Rick.
Yay.
Steve Z.
Yes.
And Jerry is a yes. That's 7-0. So the transfer is approved, and Silvio, you can go home and have dinner now.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a good day.
You too.
Can I just say one thing? Because this transfer request makes me really proud. I feel like, you know, this is a miraculous circumstance that we're only asking you for $2,000. And with all the ins and outs of this year and all the, like, if you think about police and fire, we're not asking for overtime for them. I'm
Right.
just
Right.
really proud. Thank you, Rich, but I'm really proud of the staff and think that they all deserve huge credit.
Right, and one of the main reasons is we were being a good neighbor. It's
Yes,
just
well,
wonderful.
yes, among other things, yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Your
so,
support, everybody. I really appreciate it.
okay, Sylvia, thank you. Okay, Rich, we're in, now I sent out, as Steve Z said, I've gone through my 7 emails, so each one of them had to go out, each one of your papers had to go out one at a time, but if you wanted to do a quick quarterly review on where we're at, so kind of, the floor is yours.
Very good. Well, I'll start with the update, and I'll actually properly share my screen as to what I earlier mentioned to you. Here's the report. Right from our accounting system, this is the last page showing the totals. And at the moment, it's showing budget versus expended and about $2.5 million available. But I don't expect that to remain because we do have final warrants to process for the final payroll of the fiscal year, as well as our final vendor payments and any final encumbrances. So we're anticipating maybe around $500,000 of savings, and that goes
Okay.
to potentially free cash. And this is what I'm talking about, is once we get through the end of the year and finalize these amounts, I usually will summarize that for the finance committee and do a little presentation on how we've done as far as performance and how it goes to free cash. But this report's really long, and you can go through it, but it lists each department in summary by salary and expense and capital. But what I really want to show and spend a little bit of time on is on the revenue side, because that's going to go to the discussion of the FY21 budget discussion. And it's important to note that to the extent we have any revenue shortfalls or revenue deficits, the savings on appropriations under state law can go to balance those or offset those. So you're not required to raise revenue deficits if you have savings on your appropriations. But what does end up happening is it has a pretty significant impact on your free cash. And so let me just share with you the revenue side of things through June, which also is preliminary, but a little bit more final than the appropriation side. And what I really want to point out is right here on property taxes, the top line. And this has really been my big concern with this whole COVID-19 situation. Most towns on the Cape are preparing their next year fiscal year budgets for a decrease in their local receipts, which is great because we've got to do that. But in the budgetary process, local receipts are based on a cash basis, what you're planning to collect. The only thing in the whole budgetary process that's not a cash basis is on property taxes, which the state requires you to budget based on what you're going to bill. And so this is our, this budgeted amount here represents our commitment less our overlay for the year. And this represents our actual collection. You notice we still have a really pretty good collection rate, but because the due date was put out to June 30th, hopefully that's the reason, we were short actual collections compared to what was billed. We can make up that shortfall by savings on our local receipts. And as I go through this, you'll see that we pretty much have done that. And to the extent we haven't, the savings on our appropriations can offset that shortfall as well. So we'll get through the fiscal year of 2020 okay, but the concern really is, even though we're providing for a reduction in local receipts down here, are we actually going to collect the property taxes that are being billed? And that's really, and that's the big unknown. And as you know, the circumstances unfold here over the next 6 months and a year, there are going to be further economic impacts that affect our taxpayers' ability to pay that we can't really contemplate right now. And that's the risk that we really have to, that's the big risk that we have to protect ourselves against. And that's why in the budget proposals for 21, you'll see that some pretty conservative estimating and conservative approaches, because we don't know what this is going to look like. We do have what our local receipts might look like, and we can address those, and we have by reflecting a 25% decrease, and we'll talk about those in a second. But here's the status of the receipts as of preliminarily through June 30th. And again, the statutory period for closing out the books goes through July 15th. So in another week or two, we'll have this finalized. You can see that in some areas we've been running short. Beach was a big area where we're running short. Motor vehicle excise ran a little short compared to budget. Permitting was running short. That's down here. But I kind of focus on the bottom line. And the bottom line is for FY20, we budgeted $4,180,000. We collected $4,469,000, which is about 7% or so higher than we budgeted, our actual. This savings here is going to offset the shortfall on the collections on property taxes so far. And so grand total, we're short about $32,000 in revenue. And to the extent we have any savings on those appropriations that I showed you, that will offset that. But that will have a negative effect on free cash ultimately. So we'll have to, the next couple of weeks, we'll get a better sense of how that all is going to play out. So that's the quick run through of our local receipts for this fiscal year, which kind of is a plate setter for a table setting for FY21 discussion.
And Rich, just for the FinCom, I mean, probably not remembering, but I think last year we had a surplus of 329,000 or more. So we had a.
Yeah, and what generates that surplus? Let me just point out a couple things back at the top. Is really the rooms tax.
Mm-hmm. Well, this year it covered
Right
the
now,
losses, right? Yeah.
Right now, you know, we budgeted 265 and collected 580, so a surplus of 3. So that one line item, you know, kind of cured all ills for all the others. Remember that includes, this is the first year of, you know, a partial on the third-party rental, the rooms tax being applied to third-party rentals.
Right.
That's higher than in that, as I understand it. You didn't include that into your budgeting process.
No.
Right. On the motor vehicle excise, did we have a due date change why we're at 97% collection? It was the same thing as real estate or what? I can't remember with the excise tax.
I saw this in Yarmouth and talking with colleagues across the Cape. I think most towns are seeing this. Motor vehicle excise is very cyclical. If things are going well and people are buying new cars, just think about if you've bought a new car, that first year excise tax bill shows you, and it's a little less painful the second and third year. But years 4 and 5, it really dropped. So if you don't buy a car and the economy's not doing great, or you're worried about the economy, and you're going to hold on to that car for an extra year or 2 or 3, it really gets felt in this motor vehicle excise. And one of the things I'm famous for, such as it is in the municipal finance circles, is years, and I've been meeting on this for over 20 years now, but I did an analysis, went back a number of years, and the most significant drop local towns have seen, municipalities have seen, is in motor vehicle excise of an order of magnitude of about 20%. That would be a severe drop. Back in 2009 and 10, I think it was, most towns saw somewhere between 10 and 12% drop. So when you're thinking about how much should you be budget of your actual receipts should you be budgeting in a subsequent year's budget, you got to keep in mind that that is a cyclical item to see, and if you should not be budgeting that up to your actuals, because if you're ramping up over a course of 3 years, let's say, chances are you're going to start tamping down over the subsequent 3 years. And if you mix that in with an economic contraction, or in this case, a pandemic, the analysis that we've done over the years shows that that has about a 20% sensitivity to it. Hopefully that's very severe. The usual downturn is 10, 12%.
Okay, thank you. And I want to commend Jackie on penalty and interest on taxes. You've gone out to go after scofflaws, and we appreciate that on the finance committee.
Well, I guess what we've learned is you shouldn't give our new treasurer a task to do unless you really want it done, because she's very severe about her collections, and we're seeing
Oh,
that.
that's good.
You said
That's
get
good.
rid of that
And
burden, and she did.
Yeah.
A large part of this, the Del Gizzi's,
Well, no, this is penalties and interest. So yes, I'm sure some of it is. Yeah,
to the extent they've paid, and if you haven't paid, that's part of why we have this shortfall
Right.
here.
well, they gave
Right.
us a check for back taxes last year for 130,000. So, but that's not all in there, because some of it was actual tax owed and some of it was penalties and interest.
Who was the they that Mary was referring to?
the Del Gizzi's, you might have seen their name in the paper over the last year. They've in hot water right now for the motel in Truro. They own all sorts of real estate, and they don't take care of it, and they don't pay their taxes.
So they hadn't paid their taxes in 3 years on 10 separate properties. So we actually went to court, and they ended up paying for 8 of them, and we took possession of 2 of them.
Good for us.
Yeah.
So that rooms tax that covered a lot of shortfalls, that's probably going to be under a lot of pressure, right, in 21, that number?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when we talk about 21, what I'll tell you is that our overall reduction in local receipts, as far as what we use to create a budget, revenue budget, is this has dropped, will be dropped about 25% from this actual.
Yeah.
But still, it didn't seem like a very good year, to your point, to be counting on any new rooms tax, because as it turned, as we're sitting here now in July, and we have a little bit more benefit of some hindsight, actually rentals seem to be going okay. But I don't know to what extent that we can, on the private rental market, I ought to say, but certainly not on, the Sheridan and places like that.
And we had committed to use that extra revenue, not in the operating budget, which is why it wasn't budgeted in. This year, it was supposed to go towards stabilization and OPEB and, basically savings. This year it's saving us, from
Right. Yeah, all right. Do you have any, Rich, you want to go on to any further, or
Well, what
you
I'll do is
pretty
I'll,
much brought us?
I'll go right into FY '21 budget now,
All right.
which builds on some of that same information. And this is a similar presentation that we gave to the selectmen, just to give them an update at their last meeting on the 29th. Except this presentation has some more detail for your benefit. And so here you see that, we had about 4.4 million or so on local receipts. You can see here that we've decreased it for planning purposes, 25%, and a 10% reduction in state receipts. Still waiting on hearing what the budget from the state's going to look like. But that's the minimum of what we've been hearing. The other key with these reductions, we still want to maintain a structurally balanced budget. And that's super important for Eastham because we have a lot of borrowing on the horizon. And we've heard from our bond rating agencies what their expectations are. They're not expecting to see huge additions to stabilization funds, for example, but they want us to make sure that you're maintaining a structurally balanced budget, meaning that all recurring expenditures are funded with recurring revenues. So in other words, we don't want to appropriate, salaries that we expect to reoccur over the next several years with free cash, because what do you do when that free cash isn't there anymore? That's a one-time source. And so this budget, with these reductions, maintains a structural balance, meaning that either local receipts or tax levy are going to maintain that level of spending going forward. We don't need an override for our operating budget, although there are a couple proposed for other reasons, which we'll talk about. And we also need to preserve some cash flow because, again, that big concern about property tax payments and the timing of revenues is important. And if we need a backstop in the event that were to occur. And so we've preserved about $1 million, I believe it is, of free cash, and we preserved the money in the stabilization fund. At this point, hasn't been tapped and not considered to be used. And so I like to show this. It's a summary, an overall summary showing that if you were to go through the detailed budget books, which I'm not really planning on going through tonight, I'll mention it. It's still in process a little bit, but that detail shows a $32.8 million of local.
Right.
The state assessments that we required, a provision for abatements and exemptions for a total of 33.6 to be raised. And this is how we're planning on funding it. And you can see that this 3.2 million is about the 25% reduction that I mentioned from the prior year. State receipts is the 10% reduction. And this is largely free cash in here, showing that we've cut back some of the capital spending to go from about 2.4 million to about 1.5 of other available funds. And to balance all that out is the tax levy, and that falls within our levy limit by about $500. But the bottom line is we do have a balanced budget, revenues to balance our recurring expenditures. And then here's the budget. And I have compared this, what was previously proposed back in January compared to where we are now, showing that about $1.5 million has been reduced. Some of that is attributed to it's better to be lucky than good, I guess. We did have some great news. Since we were required to present a budget back in January, we learned that there's no increase in our health insurance. So that was a significant savings. Enrollments for the Nauset Regional School District shifted in our favor, resulting in a reduced assessment from the school district. And some debt that we thought was going to be fall into this fiscal year isn't going to be falling into this fiscal year, so that's deferred at least a year. And so all those are the big ticket items to add up to this $1.5 million of reduction. In addition, on the operation, Jackie went through and made several cuts where she thought we could, with the perspective of trying to maintain the key parts of our operation so that we can recover going forward. There's nothing that's structurally going to damage our operation for a 1-year period. And so here are some of the things that were reduced. The COA day program being one of the big programmatic reductions. Contract services through DPW was a big reduction, such as it was if we could live without it for a year. We did get more information that allowed us to realize that we're going to have some savings from retirement, so the replacement won't be coming in as high on the salary scale. So that generated some savings. And to the extent we had some hiring to do, we have hiring deferrals till after town meeting to equal those savings. And we also reserve the right, if we see the economic conditions worsening, that those deferrals could be extended even further. There's also some hour reductions in some selected departments. But by and large, we're maintaining at this point our full-time staff to maintain the operation and the level of services that the town is receiving. This shows the detail.
Nice.
Can we go back, Jerry? Jerry, is it okay to ask a question of Rich?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Good, Steve. I think I lost you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
I can hear.
Yes. Okay. Rich, first of all, I want to say I haven't been on this committee for about 6 years now. These materials just
Yeah, I can, yeah.
They are just terrific. Thank you and Jackie for this. And it's just great. Really helpful presentation. I have 2 questions. One is, how do reductions in hours work? I mean, how is that done? A 40-hour person is told you're now going to work 30, or what are we doing here?
Yeah, it was mostly, I think it might have been a couple people that were 40, perhaps at 35. But by and large, I think it was part-time people that might have been, say, 25 or now 19 or 12 or 15. But it's truly just hour reductions. And so there's a per hour savings if you reduce that staff time.
And was this done by a decision we make as to where we could best deal with that kind of reduction, or is there any voluntary aspect of this where people volunteered, or do we impose it? How does that, or maybe we haven't even announced it yet. I don't.
I'll answer that, Rich. So at first, before Rich came on, I thought we were going to have to make deeper cuts. So I went through and obviously tried to keep everybody who was essential. And, my bottom line is everyone that's here is essential, because if they're not essential, then they shouldn't be here. And so, but we tried to keep obviously I wasn't going to reduce police, fire. I tried not to reduce DPW staff. They're already short-staffed. So the people that become vulnerable are clerks in various offices that we know we could reduce. So I had a list of exactly strategic cuts. Early on, I decided not to try and do an across the board, everybody's going to, be reduced a certain amount. So, but then as we went through the various iterations of the budget and Rich came on board, and even before Rich came on board, we were talking. So, it was very good, very helpful. So I knew what we needed to cut, but we kept sort of adjusting, and we're still, unfortunately, I poor Rich, because we're still adjusting budgets. I'm still saying, okay, maybe if we do this here, so it's very few employees now are impacted. I think it came down to, the summer staff in recreation, COA staff in the day center, and then the hours were cut for temporary seasonal employees more than anybody else. And a couple of clerks, again, as Rich said, going part-time, cut a few hours a week. Really trying to stay away from full-time employees, but I did intend at first, we were going to take people from 80 to 75 and, or so from 40 to 35 hours or 37.5, that sort of cut. But we didn't end up having to do that.
Okay, you completely answered. That's great.
Sorry, I went into so much.
No, that's really helpful, Jackie. I appreciate that a lot. And my second question, as you said, these weren't across the board cuts. In any, you took from different elements, different budget categories, what you thought you could best do, I gather. But what I notice is a varying percentage, every category took some reduction. Could have been as much as 9, it could have been 2, whatever, except for the elementary school, which had an increase. And so my question is, I mean, the middle school and the high school proposed reductions, and that resulted in a total reduction for educational services. But the post-COVID budget was up $120,000 for the.
So that's an easy one, Steve. We had a very last minute, we had a student who was on a special education plan who was being served in Wellfleet Elementary School under some special needs program that halfway through the year they realized was going to have to be sent to an alternative school. So it became a huge new expense that wasn't in the budget that we formed in January. So the school committee made a request for us to take a look at that. And given the fact that we were in such good shape with the other 2 school budgets, and it was a necessary item, the school came up with a certain amount of money to pay for it, and we agreed to add money to the elementary school budget to pay for it.
That's helpful. Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah. Okay, back to you, Rich.
I should have pointed out that this summary here, the subsequent pages just expound on some of the details. So local appropriations here, 32,858, equates to 32,858 on this detail here. So that's what makes that up. The next page where we showed local receipts on the summary page, this is the detail of those local receipts. So originally we planned on our budget going up on local receipts from 4,180,000 to 4,241,000 back in January. We backed off of that, and here's I did really honestly just kind of backed into this just to make sure I made a sensitivity analysis. Did it make sense to me? But my approach is more of the overall. This is a 25% reduction, $1,025,000 from the prior, from a 4,241,000 to 3,215,000. And this is how I kind of backed into it. So you can see that the new short-term rentals were not added to the budget in case we have any further exposure. And the existing existing rental tax was a 67% decline. Meals tax we have at 50%. Solid waste fees was already running short, so we did a 20%. The cannabis impact fee, we don't really have a good hold on that at the moment anyway, so that's not included in it. And everything else was mostly a 10% reduction. Recreation was a 50%. But all that is just a way of coming to a 25% overall. It doesn't really matter where we're impacted. We're beholden to this 2.9 million and raising that amount of revenue from our local receipts.
Okay.
This shows the other available funds. What we plan on using, the ambulance fund being the big one. It's about $20,000 increase on the operating costs, but $105,000 on a capital article for a total of $625,000. And of course, you see down here under free cash, originally, no, it doesn't show the original proposal, it just shows the prior year. But we're down about $800,000. We originally planned about using another $800,000 of free cash. And many of those items have been cut to result, the end of this end result here, which preserves, I think it's about $1 million of unspent free cash. And so that's to extent we need to, because we're having a September town meeting, so not, theoretically not too long after that, the following spring, or a special if we need to call one. We have another bite at the apple if we need to plug any holes or if we see any revenue shortfalls, and that's what that free cash could be used for.
All right.
And then finally, we've got the balancing act of all of this is on our property tax levy, and it has to, of course, fit within our levy limit under Prop 2.5. And so here's the calculation at the moment, and you can see that we made it by $574. But that relies on an override here. However, the override isn't for operational purposes. So in other words, if we took out what this the appropriations for these amounts, this funding would relieve, but the budget, operating budget doesn't change. So what does this represent? This represents the $490,000 ask for the family support services. And it also represents a $400,000 ask originally proposed as a capital exclusion for police department radios due to the new 911 upgrades. And for your discussion topics I'd like to talk about tonight is perhaps instead of doing it as a capital exclusion, you just do it as an override for ongoing capital purposes. Because as you see, we have a lot of, as you will see, we've got a lot of capital needs. What does that result in?
So, Rich, that would mean the original point that we voted on long ago was the police radios would be a $400,000 override for fiscal 21, and then it'd be gone in fiscal 2022. And the thought now is to create kind of a capital
Stabilization fund.
What, stabilization fund, or some kind of capital
Well, what we've done in other
fund
towns-
that would always be 400,000 a year.
Right, well, actually, it might be a little bit more because I've done this in a lot of other towns that, over the years, people have asked me to look at their stuff and give them some suggestions. And one of the easy suggestions is, in this case, you're going to a ballot for a capital exclusion. So you got to vote at town meeting to vote the 400,000. Then you got to go to the ballot for an exclusion for a one-time thing for 400,000. And then when I look at the capital plan over the next 5 years, every single year after that has things that are requiring capital exclusions that would be going to the ballot for some amount of money. So why keep going to the ballot every single year on these one-off things? If you know you need the money, be upfront with it, get the vote. It's the same ballot vote, and contribute that $400,000 to the capital, funding the capital plan, so that you're not having to go back to the ballot every single year for that amount of money. Now, you might have a more significant need that does also require a ballot vote, but there's a lot of things. In most towns, what I've recommended is that we try to approach the ongoing, try to be more systematic in your equipment replacement items that are recurring. So for example, police cruisers. Every year you're asking, that would be a great candidate for a recurring replacement program that would fit under that $400,000. IT equipment is another typical example. Things that every year you're buying, and it seems kind of a little unwieldy to ask for the same things specifically year after year. Handle those details within your capital improvement plan and provide for them. And the result of that is you got a steady, reliable source so that you can develop a plan and stick to it. I've already heard from the public safety chiefs that deferring the capital program, such as has been cut already, kind of puts them in a hole and makes them run equipment that is more prone to breaking down and having expensive repairs. And there's a lot of truth to that. And so there is a cost to deferring maintenance. And so having an ongoing recurring replacement program for things like police cars and other vehicles, not your front end loaders and things like that that last 10 to 15 plus years, but police cruisers that last 3 to 5. IT equipment that you've got X number of computers and they last 3 to 5 years, budget for their replacement 1/5 at a time, so you don't have to come up and have a huge request every 3 or 4 or 5 years. And what that ends up doing a lot of times is it minimize the amount you go into the ballot, one, and two, it actually saves real dollars in minimizing deferred maintenance and minimizing what you're going out to bond for. There's lots of things, as I go through the debt profile of the town, that have been bonded, that if we had money dedicated for our capital replacement program, that perhaps you wouldn't have to bond for. And so why do you pay for, a 5-year asset on a 10 or a 15 or a 20-year bond? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Rich, are you able to restrict an override to a capital replacement program, or that's just your good faith statement to the town that that's how we intend to use it? I'm thinking of a voter who hates overrides and because an override's permanent,
Right.
Yes.
which is an attraction. I mean, I understand your point, but are you able, or the town, are we able to say this portion is going to be for a capital replacement program, or is that just, I shouldn't say just, but is that a representation to the town? That's how we intend to use it.
I think there's probably a legal issue there, and that you probably could be stuck, or, not stuck, but beholden to using that. But these things tend to lose their character over time. And so it's really beholden. One of the things I want to work on when I get through the budget process here is financial policies. And that's where you can give a little bit more assurance. So it's not just someone's word, but it's the finance committee or the board of selectmen's financial policy that it's within it, that those things are for that purpose. And so, for example, in Yarmouth, we had $1.5 million override. We had a situation where we had debt drop off, where our debt service is running at a certain level over a number of years. And we had 1 year where we had a lot of debt expiring, and the tax rate otherwise would have gone down, or the tax levy, I should have said, by about $1.5 million. So instead of letting that happen and knowing that we had a number of needs on the horizon, we asked for the override for $1.5 million. Got that money in the budget, part of the selectmen's policy. Every year, the selectmen, when they gave the charge to the capital budget committee, let them know that they had $1.5 million of tax levy available to them to spend. And so the discussion from that was not only was the $1.5 million going to the capital budget committee to fund the capital requests, we added the 2% to it every year as well. And so it was a growing source of recurring funding for the capital plan.
So if that aspect of the policy that you're hoping to create could be in place by the vote at the September town meeting and any election that may come in, ballot that may come after, that would enhance your case quite a bit.
I would imagine.
It would really make a difference, in my opinion.
And, things, the municipal finance has really professionalized over the last number of years. And I was successful in Yarmouth, for example, and I had a little bit of a track record of a couple of years before I had to ask them. But when we told them we were going to do something, we did it. And we illustrated it and made it discreetly presented in all the presentations of everything we said we were going to do. We showed them how it was done. So people, had some confidence in what we were saying wasn't just empty words, that we actually did what we said we were going to do. And so that was important. And obviously I don't have that track record here, but hopefully we can make the case that, we are trying to take a professional approach to recurring, financing recurring needs, which is ultimately going to save money. I mean, I wouldn't ask anybody to do it just for the sake of administrative simplicity or ease. I mean, that doesn't bother me. But we're talking about real dollars and interest costs that can be saved and deferred maintenance that can be saved. And so at the end of the day, it's saving taxpayers money by doing something like this. That's the reason to do it.
Okay. Anything else? Go ahead, Rich.
So based on that, and this is all preliminary, and everybody thinks I'm crazy for always putting this stuff out there ahead of the game. But as long as everybody understands that this is preliminary and it's an estimate, but I've been pretty good at being able to estimate this stuff. Based on our current, we do have our values. Our values did go up So just slightly from 3.3 billion to 3.05 billion dollars. So based on what we're proposing to raise for our tax levy, that would result in a rate of about $9.30, which is an average burden of about a little over almost $4,900 on the average home, valued at $522,000. We don't know where that places us, but I suspect that's going to keep us right about the top third,
Yeah.
or bottom third, depending on how you look at it, of lower tax burden throughout the state. So in other words, 2/3 of the state has a higher tax burden.
How about the Cape?
So the Barnstable County average is 4,818. So we're slightly above the county average. And one of the things that's real tough, and people always like comparisons, and I'm a big one for comparisons too. But you got to be careful because of how comparable are. Everybody does things a little bit differently. So if you want to, compare us to even Provincetown, Wellfleet, and Truro, well, they all have the residential exemption now. So you can't take that. You got to back that out. So it's not an easy calculation. Not that you can't do it. And for example, and you always used to get Dennis comparing to Yarmouth. Dennis has the lowest tax rate and the lowest tax burden on the Cape. Yarmouth was the second. But then you had to add in, Dennis also had a separate Dennis water district that potentially raises taxes. Sandwich has 2 water districts. Bourne has 3 or 4. Barnstable has 5 fire districts. So you start, it's not as an easy comparison as sometimes people like to make it out to be.
So we're right about it average, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're probably very similar to where we were last year, and we were the 3rd lowest average tax bill on Cape Cod. So, even given what Rich said about the other added taxes that some other towns have, so.
One of the real interesting things, and it's just an aside, doesn't really affect, this year's budget process. But look at here, I do the last several years, and then I go 5 years. So 2007 was the year before the last big economic decline. We had 3 million, just over $3 billion of value, property. Look at the impact of the economic decline in 2012, went to 2.7 billion. It took us over 10 years to get back to that. So I just
Okay, go ahead.
thing is the effect on property values and how long it takes to recover.
Yeah.
And this is true across as all the Cape, as far as I know. It certainly was true in the Mid-Cape when I did this in Yarmouth for the local communities in the Mid-Cape.
Well, I think that we're in really good shape based on the fact that we've put a very expensive water system in over the last 3 or 4 years. I think we're doing very well.
So
Okay.
at the end of this, of that $1 million of free cash, we still have our stabilization fund. Other sources that we look at if we need to is any other available funds like ambulance receipts or the cable fund. I did do a printout of unspent articles. We have articles that we could tap to get us through on a short-term basis. But at that point, you kind of scrape in the bottom of the barrel. And then we're starting to look to grants and outside funding to get us through a tough spot. But I don't think that tough spot's going to be there. I think we've got enough in place to weather the storm, which brings me to this last point, is in the event that 6 months from now, going into spring and the upcoming town meeting for next year, if we have an opportunity to add things back, we could think about doing so using some of these sources, or just using the additional revenues that we would project. So just because we're cutting them, it's because we're trying to be conservative and approach this situation responsibly. But to the extent we can add them back, if there's anything that's necessary, we have the opportunity to do so at a subsequent town meeting.
Rich, I have a question. Are we planning to fund the stabilization fund at all this year?
That was one of the things that came out.
Not a surprise.
right here. So to extent, you gotta find $1.5 million to cut, and you're trying to preserve your services and your operation. The things that are non-operational are usually the first things to go. So that included OPEB and stabilization.
No surprise.
But to your point, if we do have that $1 million of free cash, if we can preserve that and we get through this year and things are looking up, might not be unreasonable to say, hey, we're through the worst of it. Let's use this, some of this $1 million to replenish what we cut, including the stabilization and the OPEB.
I like your optimism.
Yeah,
Well, the
let's
way-
hope.
And we were, remember, we were able to do that before. I think it was fiscal year 18. We added a chunk of money into the stabilization fund because our free cash was looking good going into the town meeting, so.
Right. Yep. Good.
So the way these
Okay.
things work is, we have these drastic cuts, and they're, all these things are lagging indicators, and it's also usually a lagging recovery. If I had to guess, the property tax payment issue aside, if that comes through reasonably okay, hopefully this is the worst of it. In the following year, we have some level of recovery, so we can add back some of our receipts in FY22. Certainly, probably not 100% of them. In FY23, a little bit further, but usually it's a 3 or 4 year cycle of pain, so to speak, where you're slowly adding back things that were cut.
Mhm. All right. Well, we're not dancing on a table with that, but we're glad that our head's above water, at least, and we've got a plan, which is what we need, and I commend you and Jackie, and on next meeting, we'll be spending a lot more time to maybe looking at that budget and getting it ready, because it's got to go to the warrant. So, but this is a good, you won't shock us in August, I hope, since we've had this. So I really appreciate all the information you sent us, and I'm sorry it was 7 emails out to you guys, but I appreciate all the information, Rich, and just keep it coming. And one of these days when we're back together, we'll have some stuff we can look at as a group rather than have all separate things. But this was wonderful. Do you have anything else you wanted to add, Rich?
Well, I'll just add, and I'll be happy to, if anybody wants a hard copy of any of this, I'm happy to print it out. And perhaps I'll even put together an updated budget book with the updated stuff. But I did send out the capital plan as originally proposed. So you
Right.
have that was originally proposed for FY21 in the 5-year outlook, as well as the revised capital plan, which is reduced from that. So you have that. You also have many pages of the departmental budgets, that the detail of which ties into that high level number that I gave, the 32 million summary. That's a work in process. It shouldn't change too substantially, but I'm following through with departments right now on the impacts of what some of these cuts mean. And if we have the ability to add back a little bit here or there, we will. But I wouldn't expect it to change too much, but that's a preliminary version you have. Certainly by the time you meet next time, you'll have the final version.
Wonderful.
You also got an article summary that we think the town meeting articles are looking like, to kind of set you up as to what you need to be thinking about. And I think Jackie is at the next selectmen's meeting where you're presenting the warrant.
The draft warrant, yeah.
So once we do that, we can send out the draft warrant, so you have the actual warrant
Right.
language.
That's great. That's a great segue to what I at least put down on the agenda. The next agenda item is to take a look. Now, we had gone through, the finance committee had gone through most of the articles in the original warrant, but that was for a town meeting that didn't occur. So it's a brand new warrant. So we've got to go through and recommendations on all the articles. And so I wanted to take this time potentially, and we did send send around, you have the old articles, is if we can go through, since we're gonna have to do a recommendation on all of them, Jackie, is to go through articles that likely won't change, that you know won't change, and we can potentially go through those, and it hopefully will cut down the length of the August meeting. So if we can, so that's what I wanted to try and do, and so to try and talk to you as as I look at the old warrant, we had some things that I think probably wouldn't change and wanted to go through, and maybe we could actually vote on those articles. And looking at, the first one was to establish a water enterprise fund. I think that will that one stay, or is that one we should push off to August? Jackie, I'm talking to you, Jackie, on this one. You're the person that's on the hot seat for the moment anyway.
Yes, Rich and I have already talked about it. We will have the establishment of the Water Enterprise Fund on the warrant.
I'm gonna have to hang up because I'm on a Zoom Board of Finance meeting.
Oh, that's Mary. Okay, that's all right. So what I'd like, if we can discuss that article, and I don't want to do article numbers because they may all change, just kind of the titles, so that we don't have to go back and re-vote on anything because of an article change. It was established to see if the town would vote to accept provisions of chapter 44 of the section 53 F1 and 2 of the Massachusetts General Laws to establish a water operations as an enterprise fund for fiscal 2021, taking effect on July 1, or take any action relative thereto. Would that be it? And we had voted at the time 6-0 to recommend. We only had 6 members present at the time. And do we have anyone have any discussion on this water enterprise fund? If not, we can listen to a motion and we can have a vote on that and move forward, so we can get this out of the way for our August meeting. Jackie, you want to say something?
Well, I'm just curious, Rich, were we going to change the language of that one? I mean, I know we're establishing the Water Enterprise Fund. I guess if you want the content, like the topic, yes, we're in favor of that. That would be fine. But if you want the exact language, I'm not sure we have the
You're
exact.
not ready for that. So then we should not do that one, because
Well-
you want to do the
Well,
exact,
the
our
language-
recommendation has to be the exact language.
Change.
The language isn't going to change, Rich said. I'm just checking because we've
Okay.
gone back and forth on a few of them.
All right, language is not going to change. We can do this, and I will look to, if anyone has any discussion on it or any questions, fine. I know, Mary, you were on the board, but neither Russ nor Steve were. I think the rest of us were all on it, whether we were at the meeting or not. Steve or Russ have any questions on the Water Enterprise Fund?
I don't have any questions. If you're ready for a motion, I'd be willing to make it, but.
Yeah, I don't know. Russ, did you have a question?
No, I
No
have,
questions? I'm ready for a motion. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, I move to the Finance Committee recommend approval of this article, whatever number it's going to be.
Article establish a water enterprise fund.
Thank you.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
That was Rick. Okay, any further discussion? All in,
I've got one
yeah,
question.
Russ.
I just happened to look at my copy and it says on the Finance Committee recommendation 6-0.
Yes.
What am I missing?
Oh, no, well, we have to do a this was planning for the May meeting when we were getting ready for that. Since we didn't, it's a brand new warrant and we have to make a recommendation on every single article.
Got it.
That's why we have to do it again, and why I think cut some corners here today.
Yeah, just
Forget. Yep. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll go through a vote here. Hold on. Steve C.
Yay.
George.
Yay.
Peter. I think Peter stepped off for a second. Tom.
Yes.
Oh, yes,
Hey.
he was a yes. Peter's a yes. Tom.
Yes.
Yes. Rick
Yes.
and Steve Z.
Yes.
And Jerry's a yes, so that's 7-0. And I'm sorry Russ and Mary can't vote, but you'll jump through the hoops and get there. The next article was the annual budget. We're not ready for that. The next one was the capital acquisition article, and I think we're not ready for that. The 5-year capital plan, we're not ready for that one. The upgrade on the police radios, we're not ready. That's not ready for prime time either, because you don't have that set, right?
So the only difference is, it's $400,000 initially proposed as a one-time capital exclusion, which requires a ballot vote. The only difference being, would you like to consider it as a override for the radios? However, it's an ongoing exclusion, override
Yeah.
with the additional amount committed to the capital plan subsequently.
Yeah, well, I think we're probably better to see that language in that way in front of us and ready to go to vote on it, just to make sure we don't
Okay.
have any confusion on that one.
Jerry, when
Yes, Steve.
that's submitted, I hope we could see the summary that would be included, because that would get into how it's going to be used in the future, and it would help
Right.
sell the item. So I'd like-
Generally, yeah. We usually get, Jackie, we get the summary with the whole thing usually, so that's historically, at least since and I know I joined after you had been on it, Steve, but that's generally how it comes about. So we do see the summaries, and we do
Okay.
have discussions on the summaries as well.
Good.
The next one that we had seen was the Fund Betterment Loan Program for Water Connection. Are you still gonna do that one, Jackie? Yep. Who's that? Russ,
Jerry.
yes.
Could I-
Yes, Russ.
This is just a question I have on the outlay and upgrade on the police radios. It says replacement of the town's 911 system.
Yeah.
My understanding was if you called from a cell phone, 911 went to something like the state police and then came back into the town. It doesn't go directly to the town. I'm just curious how calls on 911 for Eastham, where they go. Do they go directly to the town or do they go somewhere else?
They go directly to the town now.
Oh, great.
Okay, thanks. Are we going to have the Fund Betterment Program, that 100,000 from free cash, or is that one of the cuts?
We've reduced it to 50, but yes, it's still there.
So it would be the same, well, I think we'll have to wait for that, to see that language as well then, since it's a change. The collective bargaining agreements, hopefully those.
Jerry,
haven't
the
changed
language
much.
is the same. The amount is the only thing that changed.
Oh, okay, well, maybe we can do that one then. Hold on, let me go back to it. Give me a second, everyone. Okay, so this would be an article to fund the Betterment Loan Program for water connections. That's borrowing money for a water connection, and it would be transfer from free cash, $50,000 for that initial funding of that loan betterment program. Any discussion on that? If not, we can, if anyone wants to make a motion, I'm willing to hear it. We had voted 6-0 in favor of that last time.
So Jerry, one question. The amount has changed from 100,000 to 50,000?
Correct. And that's what I just
Yeah.
said, so that was what the vote would be, yeah. Do I hear a motion on that? Anyone?
Sure,
I'll make the motion.
No, it's Peter. Peter made the motion to, in favor of that. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Steve C. Any further discussion? Okay, all in,
Wait,
not all in, yeah,
Larry?
yes.
Just one thing to get on the record, I would love to be able to persuade Jackie to bring it back up to 100, but having said that. I totally support
Well, we can always take a revote in August if that happens.
Well, just,
Jackie?
yeah, but just think about it, Steve. It's really only for the first half year, then we can add more at next year's town meeting.
Gotcha.
Well, that's true,
Good
because
point.
half the year is going to be gone, yeah.
Thanks, Jackie.
Okay, on the vote, Steve
Aye.
C.
Aye.
Yes. George,
Yay.
Peter,
Yay.
Tom,
Aye.
and Rick.
Aye.
Steve Z.
Yes.
And Jerry's a yes, so that's 7-0 on that one with 50,000. Okay. Hey, we're cutting down. Gee, Jackie might not have to provide dinner for us. The collective bar, a virtual dinner on Zoom. That'll be interesting. Well, you can have it delivered to us. No. Yeah.
Who's providing dinner tonight?
Yeah. The next article is to fund the collective bargaining agreement, which is required in the first year, which I think the town currently is not paying that, but will go retroactively if this is approved at the town meeting. I don't see any change on that. It's $367,092.
But wait.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Don't vote on that because I just forwarded Rich a spreadsheet and we're going to take a second look at that. And so he may want to move some things back into the operating budget. So that amount may change.
We will not vote on that.
Okay.
The next one has to do with the Nauset Regional High School deed. Has nothing to do with the school budget. It has nothing to do with building the school. It has nothing to do with school choice or anything of that sort. When the town gave, I don't know if they gave it, sold it, I have no idea, I wasn't around then, the land to the Nauset Regional School System, and they deeded it to them where the Nauset Regional High School was located. There was an error in setting those deeds. And going through, I guess, in the building project and so forth, they found that error. And this is would correct the error in the deed so that it reads exactly, so it does exactly what was voted on back, I don't know, in the 60s? Was that when the school was done?
70 something.
In the 70s? In the 70s. So it's to see if the town will authorize for the select board to execute and deliver for nominal consideration a deed conveying the Nauset Regional School District school for lots 7 through basically through 22 on Queen Anne Lane. And that's just to correct an error that was done a long time ago. And we voted on that 6-0 as well on our last, whenever we did a February or March meeting, I think. Anybody have any questions on that one? It corrects an old error. Okay, do I hear a motion to on recommending the correction of the Nauset Regional High School deed? Who, that was Rick?
That was George.
Oh, that was George, okay. Sorry.
I second the motion.
And Rick is the second, okay. Any further discussion? Now I'll go through the vote again. Steve C.
Aye.
George,
Yay.
Peter,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Steve Z,
Aye.
and Jerry's an aye, so that's 7-0 for that one. Okay. We're going through this all right. The building project won't even be at the town meeting, I assume, Jackie, right? Since it was extended to May 2021?
The school committee hasn't taken a vote on that. Right now, they're basically going around to each town and asking, and we don't have a date for that yet. But right now, we're keeping it on the warrant until we get told otherwise. But yes, the school building authority has given us an extension through May 31st of 2021.
Well, I don't know whether, we voted, last time we voted 8-1 in favor of the school building project. And the one vote is no longer on the committee. I guess we can take this one up, and if it's not on there, it's not. This is the committee, basically the committee felt that it was fiscally imprudent to not accept, to not vote in favor of this and accept the funding from the state, which would have left the towns with approximately $95 million to pay for the school, particularly since in our letter that you had seen, particularly since if like the boiler went, we would have to upgrade the school, and that would cost us $97 million with no state aid. And you'd have the small school. So we were all in favor of that. And the real, and I'm going to put words in Fred's mouth here, and I apologize to him if you ever look at this, Fred. Fred voted no because his view was that we should have the building, but require the schools to close the middle school and send the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, or 7th and 8th grade to the high school, and maybe the 6th grade back to the elementary schools. That was his view. That's something that didn't have, we didn't deal with it, but I think from our perspective, there was fiscally imprudent not to accept this. That's where we're at, and we didn't want we felt there was no reason to have any discussion on school choice or anything like that. Those things can happen in the 4-year building time and so forth. So it just made sense financially to accept the state aid and vote yes on the project and not have it go back to ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's where we were at. And I don't know if you want to take it up and discuss that, we can discuss whether or not to vote this. But anybody had any comments? George, did you want to say something?
No, I mean, I think we ought to vote again because there hasn't been a change proposed. So we're in the same place we were when we took our last vote.
That's right.
We are.
Obviously, if the situation changes, then whatever we vote on today goes away. But
Right.
We can get this out of the way by just saying we reaffirm the action that we took at our last meeting.
I have no problem with that. Anybody else? Let's see, the only voting person who has, Steve, do you have any comments? Steve C?
No, yes, I think voting on it makes sense, and
Okay.
I certainly support, but we'll have it as a separate agenda item. I have some questions for the committee since I wasn't here when the letter recommendation that goes
Right.
under the warrant has a whole discussion of school choice and the middle school and all that. And I would like an additional discussion of that. But that's quite separate from
Yes.
this vote. So I'm totally agreeable if the committee wishes to go on with the vote now.
And
Okay.
I would also,
Russ?
that discussion, Steve.
Yeah. Well, that letter is, That's on the agenda too, but I don't know if we'll have time to get to it, but we clearly are gonna have to redo the letter, whatever the letter is, after our August, during our August meeting, because the warrants have changed and we may want to say things or not say things, pull out, add things in or whatever. So,
Jerry,
Russ?
if I could, I would really like to get Rich's input based on his work at Yarmouth on item 3 in that number 8 on that statement at some later time, because I'm probably going to have to leave for dinner in the next 5
Right. Oh, you mean for the letter? Yeah, this is not our.
No, I know it,
Right.
but when you get to that,
When we get to it,
I'm very
yes.
interested
Okay.
to hear what Steve's input from
Yeah.
another town would be on that,
Right, okay.
or Rich's.
Do I hear do I have a motion on the Nauset Regional High School Building Project, article? From anyone?
Move to approve.
That's George. All right, do I hear a second?
Second,
Rick, just a second. Any further discussion? We'll go to a vote. Steve C.
Aye.
George.
Yay.
Peter.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Rick.
aye.
Steve Z.
Yes.
And Jerry's a yes. That's 7-0 on this one. Okay. Yeah, I didn't expect to do that one.
Jerry?
The next thing, yes, Jackie?
Before we move on, so I have been approached by the chairman of the Regional School Committee, and he would like to set up a date to be on the agenda and speak with the select board. And what I would like to propose is that I formally invite the FinCom to that meeting, and we post it as a joint meeting so that you all can ask questions and opine, really, because I think what they want to know is, what do we think? Should they put it on the fall? Should they wait till May? What do we honestly think? And what would you feel more comfortable supporting? So since they're genuinely asking for that assistance in trying to decide, I think it would be great if we could schedule it. And I know it's the summertime and, and I'm asking you to do a lot because we have the whole town meeting thing now in the middle of the summer, but that would be my preference if
Okay.
you guys are up for it.
Yeah, I don't have no problem with that. Probably also would be a Zoom meeting, I would imagine.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Well, I have I don't think, I have no problem. Does anybody have any problem with that? I mean, the problems might come with scheduling if you.
Yeah, but
whatever
as
it is.
many of you as can make it, it would be
Right.
good. Yeah.
It would be great to get 5 of us. Anybody have any problems with that?
No problem. I think it's a good idea.
You're right, and Russ and Mary might even be, have jumped through all the hoops by then.
Yeah, I
Who
think
knows?
it's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay. Create an education, housing, human service purpose stabilization fund. Has that been cut or been reduced, or you don't know what's up with that one yet? Jackie?
We haven't made any changes to the concept, and the select board have directed me to keep it on the warrant as an override to pay for those services. So they think that it's more important now than it even was last year. So
Before.
they want to keep it and move it forward. I don't know, Rich and I have talked about having some language change or some structural changes to that, based on the feedback that you gave us at your last meeting, that specifically Fred was talking about, to why are we making it special fund? So, Rich, do we want to hold off on this one for them, or it's up to you?
You don't necessarily have to hold off, but what I had contemplated was making a change. Instead of having 2 articles, have just 1 article to vote the question of whether you want to raise $490,500 for this purpose. And if town meeting votes to do that and gets the vote at the ballot, then it would be set up as a article within the town's ledgers, and the money is set aside within an article only for that purpose. You don't need the separate fund. And at such time as we can integrate it into the town budget, similar to the discussion on the capital funding, that'd be handled the same way. So every year you make sure you got $490 in the budget, fund that override for that.
Okay, that, I mean, on principle, that would be fine, but if you're gonna change that, we probably better off picking that up in August when that's final. Because right now you've got, you have the 490 and then the separate article on 300 something actually being expended, I think that was it.
Well, it's the same money. It's just it's putting into a stabilization fund first.
Same fund, yeah.
Then it's taking it out of the stabilization fund to spend it.
This one, yeah. So we should probably hold off on that until we have that settled, so we don't have to redo that. So that the Visitor Service Board funding comes 12,000 from hotel excise tax to the Eastham Promotional Fund for the Visitor Service Bureau. It goes to Windmill Green, Flower Island support, summer concerts, or take any action there too. That's not going to change, is it, Jackie?
No.
Rich? No. So that was a 6-0. So the Visitors Service Board funding, do I have any motion to recommend that?
Move to approve.
That was George?
That was Rick.
That was Rick. Hey, listen.
We're trying to
I can't-
mix up.
You're messing me. At least I didn't call you Rich yet. Anyway, do I have a second?
Second.
And that was Tom. Okay, any further discussion? And this was a 6-0 last time. Okay, the vote, Steve C.
Aye.
George,
Yay.
Peter,
Yay.
Tom,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Steve Z,
Yes.
and Jerry's a yes, 7-0. Okay, Chamber of Commerce funding, that's $18,000 to Eastham Chamber of Commerce to support the information booth. That's every year. Sometimes it changes, but it's 18. Do I hear a motion on that one?
I'll move it.
Steve's, okay.
Second.
Do I have a second? Is Rick?
George.
George, jeez. You got, listen, I'm getting old, going deaf, it's all. Do I hear any further discussion? Okay, the vote, Steve C,
Aye.
George,
Yay.
Peter,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Steve Z,
Yes.
and Jerry's a yes, 7-0. Now, the fund, the Tea Time Planning and 400 Committee, we had a, to see if the town transfer free cash, 20,000 to be used to assist the Tea Time Committee in planning, and $20,000 to be used once approved by the Select Board for additional town services and/or special events for the 400 commemoration or take action there too. Are we going to make a change on that? I mean, I don't know what's being spent on 400. This pandemic is just, 400, it's like my 50th college reunion, which was this year, non-existent.
Yeah, the selectmen want to take a look at that again, so I'm not sure.
We'll pull that one. We won't even talk about that one.
Yeah.
All right.
Should we do the tea time?
Well,
Well-
it was in one article, so we really can't, it was not split. It was 20 and 20, so a total of 40,000.
And actually, the Tea Time Committee wants to do a very specific business market study of the lower Outer Cape to get a sense of what businesses might be needed in our area, and that's going to cost some money, so that we may reallocate all the money to Tea Time to make sure that we have enough to do that.
All right. And this one here, the next one, we can vote no because Mary can't vote. We can get it on here. Fund special one-time development activities. This would be to expend 35,000 from free cash to develop a curriculum framework and curriculum for a preschool teacher training program in Northwood Regional High School. I had 15,000 to work with local business to direct a healthy snack program for Northwood Regional High School. Is that still?
No, we're going to pull both of those. They may go on
Okay.
May but nobody's going to be working on either one of those things this year, I'm sure.
Okay, fine. The next was the town charter, which we haven't seen yet, so we'll pull that one off.
Wait, time out. What do you mean you haven't seen it?
We haven't seen a final on the town charter.
Why not, Peter?
Because it hasn't come back from town council.
It would be better if I were moderator and I had to keep my mouth.
But you're not.
I'll keep it shut anyway, I
Yeah.
promise. But I'm a little overwhelmed by that, I gotta say.
Yeah, we haven't seen it, so we can't work on it, Steve.
Well, I
Yeah, that's-
apologize for wondering why you hadn't, because it's only months since it's been final, but that's.
Well, that's all right. That's all right. We're just a little lazy. That's all.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
I
maybe
think-
town council is.
To be honest, I think that town council's very busy with all the postponing town meetings and issues like that.
It's
But
always ready way before that. Let's move on.
But
I just can't
the,
get it.
the second issue is, I think the changes that were finally made between the draft and the final are not that huge, maybe. I don't know. But I will
no.
definitely rattle their cage again.
Yeah. The FY 20 transfers, and then the next one is the pay prior year's bills. I mean, I guess do we have to do the FY 20 transfers? Is that there, or what's up on that? Article?
You shouldn't vote on either one of those because right now we don't have either one of those.
All right. Article 17, Steve, you can actually vote on this one. The elected officials' salaries. He can finally not have to recuse himself, although I wanted to.
Oh, I
drop
never
one.
did recuse myself on those on advice of counsel, by the way.
Oh, you never did? Oh, all
Never
right.
did.
Well, whatever. But you had someone else lead moderate that one, I think.
No,
if
I
my
did on
memory's right.
another article, which I'll have to.
Okay.
Go.
Elected official salaries, that's the moderator, 500, town clerk, 72,000, and 2,500 each for each select board member. That one comes up every year, and I think the numbers are what they were before, except for the town clerk may be up a little bit due to COLA. No change on that one, Jackie? All the same?
No, I think the town clerk's, I think everything's the same on that one.
Yeah, okay. So do I hear a motion on the elected official salaries?
So moved.
Tom? A second?
Second.
George, I heard you, George, that one. Okay, any further discussion? Now we'll go through the vote. Steve C.,
Aye.
George,
Yay.
Peter, Tom,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Steve Z.,
Yes.
and Jerry's a yes for a 7-0.
Gary,
Yeah, somebody said, yes, Russ. You gotta go?
it is feed time, and
Okay, go.
I've got to get the wine opened up.
All right, get it done.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Russ, we'll be over in about 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, right.
I'll get more wine opened up then.
Okay, good.
All right, take care, Russ.
Suggestion, Jerry. Steve Z, I think all he has to do is on his computer is click on
Hit the video.
back video, and
Yeah.
I'd like to see who he is.
Oh, okay. All right, you take care, Russ.
Okay, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The next article that was there, authorization spending limits for revolving accounts, that gonna change at all, or should we go forward?
Are we eliminating two of those, Rich?
Yeah, we can
Might
handle
have-
2 additions through agency accounts. We don't need to add anything to it.
All right, we'll put that one off till,
We're
August.
streamlining.
Yeah, hey, listen, I'm fine with it. I'm just trying to streamline our August meeting is what I'm worried about, is, going till 9 o'clock. Greenhead fly control, $2,500, which we're required to do. It's almost,
I mean, come on, you have to read green.
That's the way we
No, no,
streamline,
it's just
Jerry.
there. That's the streamline. Do I hear a second? On greenhead flies. That was Tom.
Won't the season
the
be
vote.
over?
Is the season will be over? Yeah, but we still gotta pay it, I think.
Yeah, oh yeah, they send us the bill.
They send us the bill. Steve C.
Aye.
George.
Yay.
Peter.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
Steve Z.
Yes.
And Jerry's 7-0. Jerry's a yes, 7-0. DEP liability, which comes up every year, I think. To the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection for improvements, development, maintenance, and protection of tidal, non-tidal rivers and streams. I mean, they send us a bill every year, and we have to pay for it. Do I hear a motion on the DEP liability article?
No, that's just a waiver. It's no money.
Oh, it's a waiver.
Mhm.
Oh, to waive it. Oh, that's even better.
Well, I definitely will, want to make a motion on something that's free.
Yeah, there you go, Rick. Do I hear a second? We're getting punch drunk here, but do I hear a second?
I'll second it, Jerry.
That was Steve. All right. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll do the vote. Steve C.
Aye.
George.
Yay.
Peter.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
Steve Z.
Yes.
And Jerry's a yes, so that's 7-0. Next one that was on the list was the Nauset Regional School Funding Agreement. That's where it's split by the number of students, and that's voted on every year. I don't have any problems with it. Do I hear a motion on that?
So moved.
George, you move that. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Rick. Any discussion, further discussion? Vote, Steve C.
Aye.
George.
Yay.
Peter.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
Steve Z.
Aye.
And Jerry's an aye for a 7-0 vote. Now I'm going to ask Jackie a question. What comes next and what we had done were the petition articles on the plastic and so forth. Are those those are going to go in? The select board is going to produce them. Okay.
Yep, they're in.
But will, let's say Jerry, let's say I was the proponent of it. Will I be the person that Scott Carey is going to look to make the motion and stuff?
Yes.
Even though the select board did it? Okay. That's good. This is the
Can
plastic.
What
Yes.
does it mean the select board is doing it? These are petition articles, right?
These are petitioned articles, and we made a verbal agreement with the petitioners that they would not have to re-petition them because the fall town meeting is considered a special, not an annual, even though it's our annual/special. And therefore, they'd have to go get 200 signatures as opposed to 10 for the annual. So we didn't want them to have to go through that. So the Board of Selectmen have agreed to take all the petition articles and place them on the warrant as their articles.
Okay.
It's a COVID kindness.
I do think this is your annual town meeting, but it doesn't matter
I
what I
know.
think anymore.
I think so too, Steve. It's crazy,
In
but
fact, I'm sure of it, but let's move on.
Yeah, so we have to do it. So the plastic and marine hazards reduction bylaw, which was voted on by, it's a real long one. It was voted on at our last meeting 5-1. It is something that's been agreed to by the businesses in Eastham, we've been told, and I think that the one, and I won't, well, I'm going to put a word in your mouth, Rick, and then you can add in. Rick voted no. He thinks that what's needed in these things is either a state or regional effort, not one done just at the town. And I think the rest of the committee at the time, because the businesses agreed to this and worked on this to get the language, decided to vote for it. Rick, I'm going to go to you because I put words in your mouth and you can respond.
That's more my thought on the plastic bottle one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just against this. I think, I just think it's government overreach, and my supply of single-use plastic bags has increased significantly due to COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine, yes, I've read a lot of things on plastic, what the pandemic has done to the use for plastic. You can't use recycled bags and so forth.
So
Jackie, you look like you want to say something.
this article is not a petitioned article. This article is a select board article. It came up through the Conservation Commission.
Oh, my error. Why did I think it was a petitioned article?
It started out as a petitioned article a year ago or
Okay.
2 years ago, but
2 years ago, right?
they
That's why.
adopted it.
Okay.
This Conscom rewrote it and submitted it to the select board, and they accepted it as
Okay.
theirs.
Do we have any, well, let's hear a motion, then we'll have further discussion. Do we have a motion on this? From anyone?
So moved.
George? Okay. Do I hear a second?
Sure, second.
I second it.
Tom, second. George and Tom. All right, any discussion? Rick, you want to discuss any more? You've sort of said your piece.
Yeah, I said my piece. I'll make my vote, and everyone else will make theirs.
Yeah, okay. Any other discussion on this one? Steve, did you? Oh, no, you were just shifting his seat,
Just
that's
getting
all.
comfortable.
Okay, we'll go to a vote. Steve C.
Aye.
George.
Yay.
Peter.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Rick.
Nay.
Steve Z.
Aye.
Okay, and I'll vote aye as a 6-1. Okay. The next article is a petitioned article, the commercial single-use water bottle ban. We've actually voted on this twice. The first time was 3-3, and then we had a further meeting, and it was 2-7 on this one. And if you read the letter that Art put together, you know, I think the thing was we needed to have this be regional, and the date was November 1st or something, 2021, and the view was that it needed to have a condition precedent that the other towns had to to agree to it, abiding towns, before it would become enforced. Because if it, if you didn't have that, and other towns didn't pass by November 1, then you had to have another town meeting to change the bylaw, to extend the date on the enforcement. At least that was our understanding at the time when we voted. So that's where we are at. And I guess I had a further question. Would, if this bylaw were enacted and we had another pandemic, or not a pandemic, we had, let's say we had a significant problem, and Jackie's going to throw something at me, but you had a significant problem with the town water supply, and we had to quickly do something for the town to get water. Would the select board have the ability to say, we're not going to enforce this until the water system is corrected? I just don't know if there's a legal question on that or not, what the answer would be.
Steve is correct. Oh, I can't
It's in
believe
the
I
article?
said that. It's in the article that it's not, emergency, there's an emergency provision.
Okay, there's emergency one. Okay, I missed that.
Yeah.
My error.
But Jerry,
Okay.
I have a question of Jackie before a motion's made on this, if I may.
Yes.
And I guess it's along the lines of Rick's point about regional.
Mhm.
If this is now a selectman's article,
Mhm.
I would be very happy if they would edit it to provide that it would be effective when the rest of the towns in the region agree to it.
Well, see, I think that's where this kind of discussion could be useful, right? So we have agreed to put it on as they petitioned it, so we can go ahead and do that. But since we do have this time, it's fair, you're absolutely right. It's easy for the select board to say to the petitioner, you know, people voted against it because of this. Would you be willing to amend it or let us amend it to do this? And I think that if they agree to that, we could always keep both articles side by side if we need to legally. But I think that would be a great idea.
Well, I think that could confuse some people at the town meeting if there were two different ones. And I don't want to vote against it in the hope that it'll get changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there is another alternative, and that is an assertion by the selectmen that the motion they will make, which need not be identical to the article, the motion would say that the article would take effect when other towns pass similar articles. So there are ways to do this, but I would like to vote yes, but I'd like to know that Rick's point, which I agree with, and I think others may have the same point of view, are accommodated in some way. I don't want to vote no, hoping that it'll get, you know what I'm saying?
Then you're going to have to wait to vote.
Yeah, that might be, Steve, I think, based upon most everyone who voted, it was that condition precedent. If all the other, if the other towns, I don't know, we didn't pick what towns they were, and someone can, but
There's
towns,
11,
surrounding
yeah.
towns, there's 11. If the surrounding towns vote the same thing, that's great. That doesn't put a disadvantage on the Eastham Super Red or whatever for having these. They can't have the plastic bottles,
Right.
but the Stop and Shop at Shaw's can have it. So that'd be great. So I think this is a good one to push off, and we can have that discussion next go round before our third vote on it.
Well, and perhaps Jackie, as I know you probably would anyway, let the selectmen know what the sense of the committee is.
Yes.
Right.
Supportive, but.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you know, the condition precedent thing is where I think most of us are. Is there anyone on the committee who would be opposed to this if all the surrounding towns had the same ban? I mean, I don't know, Rick, you can say your piece if I'm not trying to point to you or give you any grief or anything on it.
No, I think if the rest of the Cape was doing it, I'd go with it.
Okay, so I think, Jackie, that's basically where the finance committee is. I mean,
Okay.
there are some that would vote in favor of it, but a lot of us only voting no because we don't want to have our businesses in a
Yep.
tough situation if other towns don't come
Yep.
around. All right. Okay, we'll go. The next one was the transfer of District H land for permanent conservation restriction. My memory is correct. This was a transfer to permanent conservation for an area within the boundaries of the Cape Cod National Seashore, which was a quid pro quo for us to build a second water tower in that area. Am I correct with that, Jackie? Or close to it?
Yeah, not sure about the whatever.
Quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo. Basically, we were required by the Conservation Agency, Fish and Wildlife, to replace the habitat that we are taking when we build the tower.
Okay.
So we did that on the same parcel by basically sitting down with the National Seashore and saying, you know, what's the best way to do this? And we just turned over some land to permanent conservation, given that it is nothing for us because we want that land to be in permanent conservation anyway. So it was an
Right.
easy give.
All right. Somebody had a question? Peter,
What was the old article number, do you know, from the warrant?
the old article number, I had it as 24. That was in the original, the way back original.
I don't know if I
Oh,
have
yeah.
that.
This is weird. Oh, there it is. No. Yeah, my article 24 is senior textbook. Anyway.
Hold on a second, I'll find it.
You know what? It came in later versions. It wasn't in the original version. It came in the
Wasn't
last, yeah.
Okay. Came in a later version. Okay. Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, wouldn't be
Yeah,
there.
because we did not vote on this one.
Oh, we
No.
did.
We have not voted on this one. I remember we had a discussion on it. Okay, do I hear a motion on this?
So moved.
George, second.
Second,
Rick. Any further discussion? All right, vote. Steve C.
Aye.
George,
Yay,
was that a nay?
yay,
Yay, okay.
yes, yes.
Yes, okay. Peter,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Rick,
aye.
Steve Z,
Yes.
and Jerry is yes, 7-0. Mary, isn't it great to be sitting there and you don't have any responsibility on this stuff? The financial hardship deferral. It's to see if the town will vote pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Laws 59, Section 5, Clause 18A, and also vote to reduce the interest rate to 3% or take any action thereto. To defer a portion of their, defer, not forgive, to defer a portion of their taxes until their financial means improve to pay them.
So-
Could be, for example, I can't afford, and then I'm going to sell a house eventually, or I pass away and my estate will pay it, or something of that sort. Jackie?
That's right. So the select board looked at all the exemptions that they, under state law, are able to give, and we didn't have some that they felt were important to enact. So the three articles together are just three new exemptions that the board either wants to adopt for the first time, or in one of the cases, change the age of one, lower it so that more people would qualify. They considered these during the residential exemption discussion and made their policy decision on that and then scheduled these for the warrant. So you probably could vote them all together as one
Okay.
unless anyone has
Well, good. Let me
Issues.
tell you what the three are. Then that was the financial hardship. The other is a senior tax deferral with an age of 65. If I think, yes, age of 65. And the other is to establish the elderly disabled tax relief fund, a voluntary donation, so that I, Jerry Searcell, can volunteer donation of $50 added to my tax bill that goes to this fund to assist elderly and disabled citizens, residents of Eastham in paying their tax bill.
Right.
Those are the three warrants. We had voted them in the past, 501, 501, and 60.
Jerry, is this senior tax deferral without regard to financial ability to pay? Jackie's shaking her head, but I don't know what that means.
Go ahead, Jackie.
I believe there are economic criteria as well.
Yes.
There's quite a few criteria for all of them.
Why isn't the first one that we were discussing covering that? Why is, the first one was financial inability, right?
Yeah, there's one that defers and one that exempts. Am I right, Jerry? So one, you actually get money, it reduces your taxes, and one is a deferral that you don't have to pay them now and we won't take action against you.
And these
It's
both
all-
parallel provisions in state law? is that what you
Yes,
said?
yeah.
Yes, they're both on chapter 59, section 5(1). The first one, financial hardship, is clause 18A. The second, the senior tax
Deferral.
deferral, is clause 41A.
I
So
was
they're
just concerned
two
that the
provisions.
senior one could have been to anybody, and I didn't like that. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. It allows it allows the treasurer to be able to say to a person, don't worry, we're going to put a lien on your house, but we're not going to take your house away from you.
Okay.
It allows an agreement.
Sure.
Right.
Jerry,
Okay, what do I need a motion. Peter, you have a question?
well, the summaries say both of them says defer, not exempt.
Right, but they're not exempt. Both say defer. That's true.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
All right.
They're
I think
both
the
defer.
18A includes veterans and some other classifications where the 41 is elderly or senior citizens.
Okay. All right.
More groups.
Are there income qualifications on both of them too, do you know, Rich?
Yep.
I believe both have income qualifications.
Pardon me?
Yes, I believe both
Yeah.
sections require.
It should be in the article. It's really specific
No.
language.
No, the article just cites the Massachusetts,
Okay, so
section
maybe
which
it's in the
which has
summary then.
requirements.
I'm
It's
sorry.
Not even the,
Not in the summary either.
You want a motion, Jerry?
yeah, yes, I would, like.
Doing all three together, or?
Yeah, we'll do them all. If there's an objection to have them all together, say it now, or forever hold your peace. Okay, I'd like a motion.
Three.
Pardon, Steve?
I move that we recommend all three.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
George? Any further discussion? None? We'll go to a vote. Let me just make my notes here. All right, Steve C.
Aye.
George?
Yes.
Peter?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Steve Z.
Aye.
And Jerry is 7-0. Jerry's a yes, 7-0. I'm not 7-0. Okay. Next one. Zoning, the zoning stuff. I wish Art were here, but the zoning map, adopt the new zoning map from the zoning board of appeals. What it does is it changes the date on it, and says, here's the map, and it was approved on, is this one gonna change? Because it says May 7th, 2018, oh no, the map was May 7th, 2018, to make the bylaw be correct, because the former one was July 24, 2001. So this updates and says, yes, this May 2018 map is the correct zoning map.
So I hate to enter into a wrinkle, but again, the boards are going to have to go to public hearing on all of the zoning articles because,
Okay, let's pass them up.
yeah,
Jackie,
because
no
it's,
reason.
again, the time elapsed between when the
Yes,
public hearing was.
yes.
So anytime
Yep.
they go to a public hearing, they can change the content. So I worry about you taking a vote now on those.
We're much better on that. And then, so the next ones after zoning were the Community Preservation Committee recommendations. And I think we're gonna have a change on that because of the insurance, at least straight for the town hall.
Town
Since
hall.
insurance paid for the roof, we don't have to do that. So we'll have to wait for the CPA committee to come back with whatever they want to do on that. Am I right on that, Peter?
That's my understanding, Jerry, yep.
Okay, and I'm not sure exactly when that's gonna happen, but it will happen
Yeah. Our August meeting.
our August meeting, okay. All right, the next is the
General bylaw.
the general bylaw business certification, changing something for 2 years to 1 year, changing the certificate issued in accordance will be enforced and effective for 1 year rather than 2 years. So long as shall be conducted and shall lapse and be void unless so renewed. So that requires a renewal annually rather than renewal biannually. And we voted that 6-0 last time. Do I hear a motion on that one?
I move to approve.
That's Rick. And George is the second. Any further discussion? Then we'll go to a vote. Let me get my list so it's the same order so everybody knows. Steve C.
Aye.
George.
Yes,
Peter.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
Steve Z.
Aye.
And Jerry is an aye, 7-0. Repairs to private ways. Are we gonna, Jackie, we have any change on that one?
No.
No, this is to set up temporary repairs to, temporary repairs to private ways to assist on private roads, to give the authority for the DPW to repair them. Goes from 100% requirement to, the big one is to 2/3 of the abutters, so that one person can't be the holdout on it. And it sets up the program of what you have to do.
So it basically
Forget it.
takes a totally ineffective bylaw and makes it a real process that both the town and residents can use to do repairs on private roads.
Yep. All right.
I move to approve.
That's George. I gotta find it
That
now.
was
Hold
Rick.
on a second.
That was Rick.
That was Rick. That was Rick. Jeez. All right, Rick. We're gonna have to change your voices. One of you are gonna have to get voice, you know, that the kidnappers use, so I can know that that's you. And then one of you, either Rich or Rick, is gonna have to change your name somehow, but whatever. And also the two Steves. It's trouble.
Steve, it could be time for a coup very soon.
Yeah. Do I hear a second?
No second.
Steve's, all right, Steve is.
It's one of us, you know.
One of those Steves, one of you guys. I mean, who cares? Okay, any further discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Steve C,
Aye.
George,
Yes,
Peter,
Yes.
Tom,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Steve Z,
Aye.
and Jerry is a yes as well, 7-0. Okay, the next one is a petition to accept the, it was a petition to article accept a portion of Toland Drive as a public way. I was the petitioner on this, so I'll leave it to you, Steve. You can pick up for a little bit on this one.
Okay, I don't have it in front of me, but I think you just described it.
Yeah, it was from Aspen Road to JD Lane. That's the area that the town currently plows with the agreement everyone, everybody's there. The only, it's a paved road. It's not dirt, and
So this is to make it a public way.
this will
That
make it a
portion,
public
yeah.
way.
Okay.
That's all it does.
Is there any
That
discussion
portion of the road.
before we go to a motion and a vote?
Jerry, does he meet the current requirements and all? Has the highway department or whoever looked at it?
Silvio has looked at it.
It
Jerry,
actually, I'll
Jerry,
handle it.
Jerry.
You stop talking, Jerry.
You're out of it, Jerry.
Okay, all right, I'm done.
I can answer that question, Steve.
Thank you, Jackie.
Basically, in researching this, we found that there is actually a town drainage system that drains onto this road. So not only does it meet our requirements, it would normally meet our requirements to accept it, but because it's only a portion of it, it's kind of even better for us because there's an easy plow turnaround. There's, it's very conducive. I gave Jerry a hard time about it, but it's quite sensible.
Well, both aspects of that are good.
Yes, we do not need the money, though. The money is, we don't need that.
Are there any other questions or comments? Will someone make a motion, please?
So moved.
Tom moves. Any second?
second.
That was Rick.
No, that was George.
Let's all vote this down right now. Okay, George,
Yes,
Peter,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Steve Z,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So that would be 6-0-1, right?
6-0-1.
All right. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The next one, is the climate policy, which is the one that we were worried that it set up a legal liability potential on the town, whether or not you had done everything you could to combat climate change, et cetera. And the petitioner has written to me and would like to get 5 minutes at our August meeting to discuss this.
No.
They may, in fact, try and change this, change it to meet some of our needs, but whatever. So I don't want to vote on this thing at the moment. I know, Jackie, you don't want to hear them, but it's difficult for me to say no to if we're gonna vote for a recommendation on a petitioned article and they want to at least talk to us for 5 minutes, I think it's from a small d democratic view in my head, is we should hear them.
No, you're the chairman.
Yes.
I just think that the reason you voted against this had nothing to do with the merits of it.
Right.
It had everything to
right.
do with the fact that it is a badly written article that does absolutely nothing. It doesn't, it's in the form of a bylaw, but it has no teeth at all. So I think that's the feedback that we gave the petitioners. If they want to withdraw it and come back again, that's their purview. But why, I don't understand what they're presenting, because nothing's changed in the article.
Yeah. Well, they hadn't, their view, someone told them that we voted no because they didn't talk to us. So I just, as a chairman, I want to give them,
Okay.
I'll listen to the rest of the committee if you don't want to. I want to give them 5 minutes and that's it.
Jerry?
Yes, Stephen.
I'm going to give you a tough question now. Are you
Yeah.
able to stick to your guns on 5 minutes?
No.
Yes,
Because
yes,
if you're not, I vote no.
Yes, I'm going to stick with the 5 minutes. I take it from you, my mentor, when you shut your wife down in a town meeting, and I will do that. 5 minutes is what they're going to get. All right?
Because we all remember that hour and a half we spent with the petitioned articles last year. We do.
That was awful. That was awful.
It
I
was.
wasn't
It was
prepared
very,
for
very
it.
painful.
It was awful. It was awful. All right.
Excuse me.
So that's
has
what
the,
I'll do on.
Excuse me, Jerry, have the select board weighed in on this issue? They hadn't, I guess, when we voted.
No,
0-6.
they had voted 4-1 in favor of it, to recommend it, is what I have here. Don't know who, how, what, when, or why, but that their vote says here is 4-1.
Basically, for the same reason you voted against it, it's the concept that we will invest in whatever we can to save the environment is compelling to them. However, they all recognize that this really doesn't bind them to do anything. So they thought of it as, let's just support the concept. So kind of for the same reason you voted against it, because, you know, I think the boards do different things. They voted for it, and I believe it was Al who voted against it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right,
All
we've
right.
already spent more than I hope they get next week, so.
Okay, good. Thank you. The last one is, the non-binding public advisory question. The nuclear waste on the Plymouth, to storing and eliminating the nuclear waste from the Pilgrim nuclear facility, the now closed Plymouth nuclear facility. We voted, the board voted 4-1 in favor. We voted 1-5 against it. I think I was one of the 5, and I think the situation was basically that this was beyond our expertise and beyond our authority. And so that's where it was. Peter, were you the one who voted yes on this one?
Voted yes, yeah.
So you can explain, go ahead, say your piece, please.
Well, I just support the last paragraph, I guess, that the local government will request the governor of Baker employ all available means to ensure that, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I support it.
All right. I don't, so do I hear, no matter where we are, do I hear a motion to recommend this article?
Sure, I'll move to recommend.
Peter, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Steve?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd say one more thing in favor is that there has been some reporting that, to one of the points of the place not really being secured very well, that members of the public can just walk in there, and that, I think, was independent third-party reporting, so, it'd be nice to tighten that up.
Mhm. Could everybody hear Peter
Yes,
on that one? Okay,
Yes.
good. All right. Any further discussion? So we'll go to a vote. Wait a second, let me get my list here. Steve C.,
Aye.
George,
no,
Peter,
Aye.
Tom,
How about I?
aye, okay. Rick,
No.
Steve Z.,
No.
no, and Jerry is a no. So that's 3 in favor and 4 against. So 3-4. Okay. Thank you all. Except, do we even have to vote on? Yes, accept the published reports. So whatever is published, this is the last thing. Everybody's trying to run out the door before the meeting ends. To accept the published reports of the town offices as printed and made available to the public
So moved.
for, in the 2019 annual report. It's one that happens every year with just the 2019 is what all the change. Do I hear a motion in favor? Motion to approve?
I mean, should we even be discussing this if we haven't seen the published reports? Are they even available?
Yes, they are.
They're available. Well, George, I'll get the published reports. We will hold on this one, all right? And I'll submit the published reports to you before the next meeting, and then we'll pick that one up. All right. Oh, okay. We've spent a long time, and things are going to change on items. So I think looking at the letter, my thought is to defer that. It's up to, anybody want to discuss it tonight? Or,
Sounds like a good idea.
All
Unlike
right.
us, I'm not eating dinner yet.
yeah, you're right. Okay, so Jackie, it's, anything that you'd like to report to us?
I don't think so. I mean, I
All right.
think right now we're just in summer mode and it's sort of a mixed bag, but we're handling it as best we can and staff is out there doing the best they can with all of the new guidance.
Very good. It's always a pleasure. I think every Friday the Boston Globe prints, or you can pull up from the Globe the COVID-19 cases in Eastham has been at 10 since like April 29th or something like that. So it's just always nice to see that. Let's hope it stays.
Our last reported case was April 24th.
Okay, yeah. Let's hope. I've noticed
So isn't
there
our,
was
isn't our caseload by now 0?
It is.
yeah, no, but this is, that's caseload. This is just number of cases. It's always going to go up. It's never going to go down.
But
It's either going to stay
it's
flat.
kind of nice to know that we're holding, with nobody infected right now.
We're holding, yeah.
Let's keep it that way.
That's right. And I've seen, I saw a drop in the use of masks at the beach until this week. The percentage of people wearing masks going down into the beach where you pass people is increased. And so hopefully even our tourists are aware and taking care of things. So
I
that's
wish
good.
that was my experience on the bike trail, but why don't we,
Yeah,
you
right,
know,
okay.
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Let's hope it's the same report in August. That
Yeah,
would be.
yes, yeah. All right, any new business? Anyone have any new business that they'd like to raise? Other than, I forgot to say, welcome aboard, Steve. I don't know whether we now regret having done this, but whatever, welcome aboard. We're glad you're here. And Rich, thank you for, I know it seems like we get inundated, but it's nice to have the ability to have more information so we can ask questions, and we appreciate it. So do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Tom, do I hear a second?
Second,
George, I think we still have to do a roll call. Steve C.
Aye.
George,
yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Tom,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Steve Z,
Aye.
and Jerry's and I. Thank you all very much and have a good dinner and enjoy see you in August. Take
Thank you.
care.